Had weird Deltarune related dream. Fun gang was chasing a shadowy figure into the hospital. It was the night, but if you speedran that sequence, you could get right next to the shadowy figure and see it was clearly human. After cornering the shadowy figure on the final floor of the hospital, it is revealed that it was Pizza Pants the whole time. After defeating him in a short fight, he turned himself into an actual cat and ran away. I then came into this Discord to discuss the lore implications of monsters, or at the very least P-Pants, being able to body morph into other human/animals, but no one wanted to discuss Deltarune theories and they were being really passive-aggressive about it. In the dream, I woke up in dream and saw everyone going insane over a new Noel blog post on Deltarune.com. When I went to go look at it, I decided that it wasn't worth losing sleep to read about Noel fantasizing about getting slammed into lockers or whatever, so I fell back asleep while still in the dream. Then in my dream, the blog post appeared again, but I decided to stay contrarian and not read it anyway. This led to me being jump scared by a red face that was in the same pose as that one Germa image, while in a similar style to the creepy face in the Mario image and colored entirely in #CC002C. This face appeared alongside a short shrieking sound that's probably in Omori. This then caused me to wake up in my dream as well as in real life. Chapter 3 to 5 came out, and I was playing them on launch day. But Chapter 3 turned out to be this bizarre minigame that served as an epilogue to Chapter 2. You broke into Spamton's old apartment in a sort of investigation sequence where you looked through his things and uncovered more about his past. Except the game became a Terraria-style side-scroller with a destructible environment. So you had to break down Spamton's wall to get into his attic and uncover secret compartments in his walls. I specifically remember Kris throwing a stick of dynamite onto an upstairs balcony. I forget what this was supposed to achieve. You also found what brand of microwave he used and this was important somehow. But I also played Chapter 4 briefly. The antagonist was a flying brain whose name was a pun on Kangaroo somehow. And it was a 3D Rareware style platformer where you fought an army of evil kangaroo people, very frightening. And that was it. Kris turned into a mouse. The mouse was brown and not anthropomorphic, it was literally just a mouse. Susie had a cannon, she started destroying a building. She blew a hole in the floor. Kris fell through it, which is where they turned into a mouse. The game became a 2D platformer starring Kris, the mouse. The platformer didn't have any moves other than jump and climb. There were a bunch of hanging ropes to climb and some very tight jumps between them. I think I was trying to climb upwards back to where Susie was. At one point, I failed a platforming challenge and fell into a massive pit. While falling at very high speeds, the Mysteryman sprite appeared in the background for like a second. For some reason, this utterly terrified me. It could in no way be seen as a jump scare, but it felt like one. Mouse Kris eventually ran into a strange shadowy figure with a red aura. It and the room I was in were both pitch black, so I could only discern it from its aura. The shadowy figure offered wisps from Sonic colors. As the wisps began flying around, the room was illuminated. It was no longer pixel art. It was literally just Starlight Carnival. Kris became a wisp off screen or whatever. I'm a wisp now. This dream is no longer vaguely related to Deltarune. The dream ended shortly afterwards. Had a dream the Spamton sweepstakes/chair page updated and everyone here was freaking out, so I went to check. Instead of the chair, it was this creepy little red dude just standing there in the middle of the page. Clicking on him did nothing. Was still a sprite, but he was all red and fleshy. Would make it an actual sprite if I had the energy right now. I had a dream Toby Fox released an update to Deltarune Chapter 2 that was meant to add a second secret boss into the game. I don't remember much, but it had to do with Sweet Captain Cakes and you got to use Noel. Now, the big part about the dream was the new ending for the game. Ralsei, for whatever reason, decides to come with Kris and Susie to Kris' house after school and help with their project. So they get there and instead of the pie making thing with tutorial happening, Asgore shows up and Toriel, not wanting to yell at him in front of Kris' new friend, shoos him outside to talk to him. Inside, Kris, Susie, and Ralsei start working on the project, and it's about the ocean. They decide to do a song or something, but once they decide on that, the scene changes to Toriel and Asgore outside. Asgore begins talking about how the mayor, wants to evict him from his flower shop and he's worried for the plants. Why? Well, it turns out Asgore is so good at taking care of plants that any plant he takes care of will immediately wither and die if away from his presence for too long. Though, if he goes back near them, they spring back with life completely golden, but only in a certain radius of him. This has made it so Asgore can't even so much as water a tree without it suddenly becoming dependent on him. Toriel, of course, doesn't care but is trying to be civil. Back to inside, Kris, Susie, and Ralsei have finished part of the project and are taking a break up in Kris' room by playing a game on the computer. Ralsei is sitting between them watching in awe. Toriel then comes upstairs and is like, "Kris, do you and your friend want to come downstairs and help me bake a pie?" And of course Susie is excited and rushes downstairs, Kris soon following, but the camera doesn't follow Kris. Ralsei watches them leave and gets up. You could walk around a little bit as Ralsei, but couldn't go anywhere past outside the house. You could attempt to interact with Toriel and Asgore, who's outside watching the sunset, but neither of them will acknowledge Ralsei. Once you go back up to Kris' room, there will be a prompt that says wait for tomorrow? Yes or no, and when choosing yes, a scene plays where one of those fast travel doors appears, but it's dark gray. Ralsei takes off his glasses and rubs his eyes, saying,
Kris is great at piano. Susie's singing was a bit off key, but that's alright. I know they'll do great. I can't wait to see them again.
Ralsei then puts his glasses back on and enters the door. The door disappears. I think it was implied Ralsei was just Kris and Susie's imaginary friend. It was pretty cool. I had a dream that chapter 3 was out, and we had to go into a dumpster door that led to a haunted house, where it was maze-like. There was a scare meter, and you had to keep your characters not scared, and happy. Kris, Susie, Scout, and Medic were all present. I have had several Deltarune-related dreams. Here is a list of weird shit from those. 1. At one point, you had to travel to an island to fight a bunch of regular people. This had something to do with Jesus. 2. It turned out that Gaster was trapped in an old computer. You could communicate with him through Morse code. 3. There was a weird flash forward where you had to fight Asgore again. 4. There was a section of the game where you had to visit an old abandoned workshop. This contained some sort of monster being suspended from the ceiling. There was a cult living in the workshop that kept it alive. 5. Using the Dealmaker as an item caused lasers to shoot from it. This dealt around 700 damage. 6. Spamton Neo had a weird attack where he blew on his fingers, after which an old-fashioned steam train barreled down one of the tracks, hitting a party member. 7. Onion-san climbed out of the water, revealing that he was, for some reason, a really buff bodybuilder with the regular sprite as a head. 8. There was a section where Kris and Susie entered a portal that looked like something from Myst, after which they had to go through a zoo or something. You had to solve weird puzzles, while being chased down by a monster that looked like some sort of giant fucked up human. They called him the Mountain Man, and if he caught you, the game would temporarily become 3D. The intended way to kill the monster was to trick him into falling into a pit somewhere. There was, however, a weird glitch where he would sorta become stuck to you, which prevented him from attacking for some reason. After you beat that section, there was a cutscene where Kris reunited with Susie. She was seemingly covered in blood, but there was a joke that it was just jam.